This is Darif Sites. This HTML tutorial is about basic text in HTML. Here's the web page that we'll be looking at to demonstrate text concepts. First of all, there's a heading 2, H2 tag. There are 6 heading tags that provide from a very large font size to a very small font size some differentiated sizes in text that you can use for headings and section headers. And this one is center aligned through the style attribute. We have comments in our file. This here is a comment with the beginning comment tag and ending comment tag. They can be multi-lines, just separated by these tags. Here's a heading 3 for a subsection called raw text. In here we have 3 lines of text in this text file, and I've identified them by a 1, 2, and 3 as part of their text so they stand out. I'm in a text editor, and if I scroll horizontally, you can see I just type those in to go on one line. For ease of readability, I'm going to change over to the wrap view in the text editor by clicking on its toolbar. And they're not really wrapped like this, it's just the editor showing them this way. So here are the 3 lines of text. And notice that there's no tags at all, except for in the third one there's this unary break tag here, and it says here is some text with a break tag after each sentence. That's what paragraph, it's not a paragraph, that's what this line 3 has. It starts having break tags in it. So the first 2 raw text examples do not have any break tags at all. However, there are space lines between them in the text file, in the HTML file. We'll see what that looks like when we go to the display, but the way it works is that in HTML, when the browser displays a page, if there is any spaces, what is called white space, it includes spaces, tab characters, and carriage return characters and line feeds. Anything that you would use to go to a new line in your editor or just spacing out. When the browser sees a sequence of these that are consecutive, it will compress them down to just 1. It only takes 1. So if I had 20 spaces or 20 carriage returns, it doesn't matter. They're all treated as 1 space in the browser. That's a key concept when you're working with text. You have to control when things actually go to a new line or the spacing. Much of this we'll see in a later tutorial about style, but here in this basic tutorial, one way to control it are with these unary break tags. Another way is through paragraphs. So this next section, paragraph text, first it has some raw text, no tag, and then it has paragraphs. Paragraphs are binary, and they enclose what you would think of the concept of a paragraph. And again, if I switch back to no wrap, you'll see that these paragraphs, I type them in as just one long line in the editor. But the paragraph tag itself, what it will do, it will ensure that there's a blank line on above and below the paragraph. If there's already one there, it won't add a new one, but it will make sure that the paragraph has spacing from its vertical content. So there's the first paragraph with a 1 in front of it. Here's some more raw text, no tags. The second paragraph with a 2, the third paragraph with a 3. Next, we have a section on formatted text. Some basic formatting: there's ability to make text bold by enclosing it in these B tags pair. That's a bold tag. Italicized text uses an I tag pair. And you can nest these tags. So this example here, we have italics text, and then that's nested inside bold text, and that will apply both those styles to the text. It will be bold and italic. Special characters. Here we have a sentence with 10 actual spaces between the parentheses here. And remember that the browser is going to compact that down to a single space. In the next paragraph, we want to actually show those spaces inside those parentheses, and the way to do that is by using what's called character entity references. And the one for a space has NBSP, which stands for non-breaking space, and then the character entity references start with an ampersand and they end with a semicolon. So there's 10 of those, and those will show in the browser as 10 spaces. Next, we have character entity references for a less than and greater than character. In older browsers, at one point in time, because the HTML tags themselves use less than and greater than, it was not allowed to have less than and greater than symbols other than what you're using for your tags, and if you needed them, you had to use a character entity reference. Here's the less than LT character entity reference and the greater than GT. However, in all the modern browsers, you can now simply put in a less than or a greater than, and they're smart enough to know that that's not a tag, and they'll show it. It's the same thing with quotation marks. Here's a character entity reference for a quote on either side of the word quotation, and here's another sentence in a paragraph that contains actual quotes. A horizontal rule ends the file, and, well, it doesn't actually technically end the file. It's intended to, but there's a comment below it that says the above line is a horizontal rule with a break tag. So a horizontal rule gives you a horizontal line. Let's view this now in the browser. Here is the page displayed in the browser. The heading up here, text, which is the style attribute centered it. Raw text, a subheading. By default, text is left justified on the page. Here are the 3 lines of raw text, 1, 2, and 3. And notice that even though we had a space line between them in the text file, that carriage return that we entered is just interpreted as a space. And so it's all run together here. Next, we see the 4 lines that use the break. There's a break here and a break after these to control where they go on a new line. A section for paragraph text. Notice that the 3 paragraphs make sure that they have a space above and below them, different than what happens with untagged raw text up here. Formatted text, there's the bold, italic, and combined bold and italics. The special characters, 10 actual spaces just reduces to 1 space. Here we have 10 spaces through the character entity references. Character reference less than and greater than, and actual less than and greater than. Either one can be used now in current browsers, and similar with the quotation marks. And finally, the horizontal rule at the bottom of the page. We'll go back one more time to the source code for this page. Here we are in the source code, and again, the main concept here is the fact that the browser really ignores extra spacing and carriage returns. You have to control it through paragraph tags, break tags. Those are the main mechanisms, and in a later tutorial there'll be styles that can be applied. We also looked at some simple traditional styles, legacy styles that were supported from way back, bold, italics, and combine, and some historical notes on the special characters. This concludes this text HTML tutorial.